Herbal, Dr. Shiva. Dr. Shiva is the inventor of email. Don't let the deep state tell you any different. He's a scientist, inventor, entrepreneur, Fulbright scholar who holds 4 degrees from MIT, including his PhD in biological engineering. He started 7 successful high-tech companies, providing thousands of jobs. His life has been about solving the very tough problems by identifying the root cause, bringing together people, especially here in Canada. He's been very inspiring in the trucker convoy and the movement for freedom. He is an innovator who brings a lot of real solutions. Right now, he wants to save America, and he's pulling America beyond the left-right paradigm, which we definitely all need, and he's delivering solutions that we deserve. Most importantly, Dr. Shiva is one of us. Not just another lawyer, lobbyist, politician, or likely Satanist. Dr. Shiva, thank you so much for your time. Welcome to the show.
Or Zionist.
Or Zionist, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for joining.
Yeah, so welcome to everyone. Yeah, I remember, I think one of the things people need to understand is that one has to look at the actions of someone throughout their entire history to really understand who they are. Talk is cheap. And this is really sort of the spiritual and the political and the whatever wise lesson that everyone needs to learn. The other lesson people need to learn is the working people, the working class of the world, need to get their shit together and start to rise up. And they need to rise up because no one else is going to rise up for them. And the hypnosis here that's been taking on for many, many generations to think that your oppressor, one of them, what I call the swarm, is going to rise up for you. It's quite a very, very intriguing psychological operation that's committed when we have 8 billion of everyday working people, 0.001%, and the 8 billion do not rise up and take what's rightfully theirs, which is truth, freedom, health. And that's only reserved for a finite set of people. So you have to understand the level of, this is not even physical anymore, it's psychological. It's a very, very deep psychological enslavement that is taking place to people. And so, and what's happened is the worlds of spirituality and the worlds of science have been separated for far too long. So a lot of people check out, and that's what those in power want to do. Well, this is not a problem I can solve, so I'm going to wait until Jesus comes, or I'm going to wait until some Messiah comes. You can wait all day you want, okay? But even if you watch the teachings of Christ, Christ said the meek shall inherit the earth. Now, many people think that means that, be meek and humble, and then you get to be king of the earth. I think I take a very, very different view of that statement. I think when Christ said the meek shall inherit the earth, he means those who are pussies, who have no courage, who want to be enslaved, can stay here in the world of mammon. That's what I think it really meant. And people have misinterpreted it to be something else so they could justify, in many ways, it is the opiate of the masses. People confusing those statements to think I don't have to do anything. So I want everyone to really, really think about this, that there's 8 billion of us, 8 billion people by and large who do productive work, who get up, who try to feed their families, do some kind of work, some type of labor. And then there's these 0.001% of scumbags who fly falcons around, who have golden plated toilet seats, who bang whoever the hell they want. They make you think they're better because they bang the right person on Hollywood to get into some show and they have no talent. All right. And those people, or they're a podcaster, or they're fucker Carlson, or now you have this new media complex forming with Alex Jones, who's an entertainer, who's a Zionist, right? Fucker Carlson. You go down the list, right? Rogan, Elon Musk. So the elites are very, very clever at continually evolving themselves to meet the reflection that you need to see in them so you don't have to do shit. And that's what this is about. So you can continue to be, in some ways, they're cocksucker. They're obvious cocksuckers of Zionism, and they want you to do that. So everyone listening to should understand that nothing changes in the world. There's nothing happening out of the ether, okay? So get that out of your mind. It's not like things get better and suddenly things are going to get, or things get worse and suddenly people are going to rise up. It doesn't happen that way. we have to create the world that we want. And the 8 billion of us have to recognize that the only way we create the world that we want is, number one, you have to have a very clear vision of what you want. If you don't know what you want, you're not going to get anything in life. What do you want? What do you want? Think about that. Well, to me, the big mission of what I think the 8 billion of us want is that we want truth, freedom, health. Truth, freedom, health. Notice there's no and. Truth, freedom, health. All those three. Truth, freedom, health, because they're integrated. And now my journey over the last 60 years into this process has unveiled to me that those three words are directly related to spiritual concepts. In the ancient Indian science of yoga, which was called Vata, Pitta, Kapha, in the engineering science, it was called transport, conversion, storage. So think about what I'm saying. I've uncovered a framework of how the universe operates. The universe wants truth, freedom, health for you and me and everyone else. They want power, profit, and control, which is, if you want to talk about the devil, that's what the devil is. Maximization of profit, maximization of power, maximization of control. But however, if you believe in a God, I don't think God is going to give you jack shit unless you want it. Okay? There's a part of this which is an objective observer, if you think about God or nature, which wants you to go through the process, the journey. And many of the ancient texts talk about this. So if you want truth, freedom, health, if you want your own liberation, no one's going to give it to you. The forces of power, profit, control, if you want to take about the force of evil, are going to continue their onward path, and they don't give a fuck about what you think. They don't care if you're meek or humble or pray all day. They really don't fucking care. They're going to go down their path. They don't care if you go to church every day. They don't care. Okay? And once you become that's clear in your life, you'll find out the only way forward is your deeds. What actions did you take? You see, these people in power want you to behave like them. They want you to behave like them. And how do they behave? They just talk all day. Talk. They bullshit you all day. They'll say anything to you. Anything you want to hear. Anything. And then you, every 2 to 4 years, wow, he said, amazing. Did you see that guy, Vivek the Snake, attack Nikki Haley? Well, she's not that hard to attack. And he's a scumbag. Oh my God, Trump said, make America great. Lock her up. And he got us all cheering. Well, he didn't lock up anyone except his followers.
Yeah.
So this is really about you. And do you want to be subjugated by them? But more importantly, do you want to suck them off? And that's what they want you to do. Seriously.
Yeah, I agree. You
It's
said
very simple. I have to be this harsh because, you know, I was harsh in a video a couple of weeks ago, and I said, I'm the only presidential candidate who will not suck Zionist cock. It went viral for some reason. I think it really hit a tone. I said, that may sound highly unpresidential, but it is absolutely presidential. But now I have to say to the broad mass of people, do you want to keep sucking Zionist cock? Because you're doing that implicitly if you don't have the discipline to say, this is what I want in life, and I have to mobilize with other people. And in order to mobilize and learn, I have to first detach myself from these people and realize I have to do this with others. In order to do that, you have to understand, first is I have a clear vision. Second is you have to have a framework on how you achieve this. And that's not going to just mysteriously happen. It's going to happen through work, and it's going to happen through a framework. Good for all of you. I figured out what that framework is after 60 years. Having come from nothing, having wanted to shatter the swarm. You will learn what is a swarm in a very scientific way, but very accessible way. You will understand it's both science and religion and spirituality. So you can't say, well, I'm a spiritualist and I'm a scientist. No, they're both united because the truth is a truth is a truth. It spans whether it's science or religion. And once you understand that, then you realize, shit, I have to do something. And the fact that I'm thinking the Kennedys are going to do something for me, or the Trumps, or any of these people will lead you to the path that maybe you're a cocksucker of them.
Yeah.
So anyway,
just to jump in there.
And it'll be the ending too.
The beginning and the end. I love it.
Yeah, the beginning and the end are all united, okay? But that's the end, but it's also the beginning. And we'll end there also, but we started there.
No, thanks for that, Dr. Shiva. You touched on so many interesting points. One, I actually recently did a solo episode where I talk about the savior complex, where we've been basically hardwired from birth, right? Starts with superhero movies and comic books that, some savior will arrive at the last moment to, take away the pain and fight all the evil in the world. And I think that is by design conditioning for us to not take actions like you're discussing, right? And in addition to that, this idea around, I loved your point about the deep state really seems to be morphing into new entities to trick us more and more creatively, right? In the past, it was very basic, and now you're getting creatures like Vivek, who very much says all of the right things, right? But he doesn't really come correctly. So I'd love, maybe we can expand on that.
Let's finish. You have to be very accurate in what you just said. He says all the right things, and he has never done any of those things in his life. Mm-hmm. He has never walked the walk. Okay, fucker Carlson has never walked the walk. Okay, none of these people have ever walked the walk. Look at their actions. Do not look at their words. Where did they come from? How did they live? How did they make their money? How did they make their living? And you have to hold them up to that standard. They do not want you to hold them up to that standard. They want you to lower your standard because they're lowlifes. And they want you to lower your standard and get to the point where you keep saying, well, as we say in our flyer, I have to choose the lesser of two evils. This is what they want you to do. Well, the lesser of two evils is leading you down that lifespan path, as it in that graph, where in the United States, that red graph shows that your child will have a shorter lifespan than you. For the last 80 years, the lifespan of the U.S. public has been going down, and so has the world lifespan. So if you just use that one number, so over the last 40 years, the elites have been putting together policies, programs. It's not just the vaccines. Don't let the vax, anti-vax stuff. That's also a distraction. The real issue is, I just had to do this video exposing this fucking moron. His name is Kirsch, another Zionist hoodlum who supports Kennedy. Okay. Oh my God, we found all this data in New Zealand that shows that the vaccines are killing people. Well, actually, his flawed analysis actually shows it actually protects the government lockdown model. So there's a lot of these bullshit anti-vaxxers who are making money off the anti-vax movement, but they never want to really address the real issues of medical freedom. So all of these grifters always come in. I didn't see them in 2020 in the protests we ran, for lockdowns. Kennedy was promoting lockdowns. I didn't see any of these. We were doing the hard work in the cold, fighting the lockdowns, fighting the fascism of the quote unquote pandemic. These guys wait 2-3 years and they take over these movements. So we have to understand there's a deliberate effort of these people knowing I exist, our movement exists, and that we're creating many, many people beyond just me. Hundreds of thousands of people, millions of people are understanding right now this concept of the not so obvious establishment, the real devils. Mm-hmm. And in order to resolve that, or attempt to resolve that, they claim they're anti-establishment, but look at their actions. Yeah. And they want you to, and they'll talk all sorts of anti-establishment game, but you have to look at their actions. One of their actions is to make us invisible, and the other action is you can look at them on how they all reacted on October 7th. They all supported the butchering of the Palestinian people. So that's a litmus test for you. Do they cover Dr. Shiva, the mainstream media, who pretty much 500 million people on the planet know? Why do they make him invisible? And the second thing is, where was their position on Zionism? And that will give you a filter. They can be, oh yeah, I'm against the vaccine, but I'm a Zionist hoodlum. Okay, now does that make any sense? I care about stopping the killing from vaccines, but I'm absolutely fine killing Palestinians in Gaza so the Zionists can take 200 trillion cubic feet of their gas and their billions of barrels of oil. You see, Zionist scumbags seem to make money every which way. They'll one day be saying they're against vaccines, another day they want to save people off cancer, breast cancer. Go look at all these nonprofit organizations, from Children's Health Defense Fund to the Breast Cancer Foundation to Cancer Foundation. They're all run by Zionist scumbags who make money over here off the problems they created over here. You see, it is Israel and Zionism which housed which supported the vaccine mandates, which were like this with Pfizer in connecting genetic level data and forcing mandates in Israel. So they used Israel as a test bed. And think about what I'm saying. Booby fucking Kennedy, a scumbag who comes from an organized crime family, he's put out there as though he's fighting for you. But this scumbag loves Israel, promotes Zionism, waves their flag. And then over here, which are the people who supported the entire vaccine mandates, which gave Albert Bourla, the CEO of Pfizer, the Lifetime Achievement Award. And then over here, the same clown is saying, I'm fighting for medical freedom. I mean, come on. Someone should slap the shit out of this guy. He's a bullshitter. And then in his own home, everyone had to be vaccinated before they came into his home. So if you're listening to this now, understand that if you're willing to live with this contradiction, he's laughing his way to the bank and he thinks you're a dumb fuck. That's what he thinks you are. And so the issue is, do you want to have respect for yourself at a deeply spiritual level, raise your standards, be uncompromising, walk the walk? Because if you don't walk the walk, they're not going to walk the walk. And you're going to get this kind of, degenerate lifestyle that we see. Yeah. Of people saying one thing, doing another. That's what this is really about. This is really, the more and more I do this, man, I love attacking the cocksuckers, but I have to start being a little bit hard to people, almost like a drill sergeant in a boot camp, and saying, get your head out of your ass. If any of the oppression that takes place to you, it's coming because you are allowing it to take place to you.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And as we were talking about offline, I've been going more and more down the kind of metaphysical, spiritual element of a lot of these control systems. And it's very clear that most of the worst oppression we face is of our own consent. Right? We saw this even during COVID, where most of the edicts were not law. They were things that if people had rallied together immediately and just said no, it wouldn't have been an issue. And in fact, we see in multiple states that was the case, right? And so they do claim this false, authority often, right? Most of what they do isn't even passed in law. It's just basically a presumed acceptance of an edict from the elite, centralists. And the state of politics is such that it's so poor that anybody who just says, something that sounds reasonable ends up getting the floor, and that's how they're able to manipulate us, right? And they keep all the grassroots.
No, that's not what's happening. It's not something reasonable. You have to understand, these people have immense billions of dollars behind them. No one gets on mainstream media by just saying. They get on mainstream media because they've been anointed, they've been selected to play a role. Yeah. So we have to, again, recognize it's not like Trump says anti-establishment stuff, therefore they give him access to the media. No, they give him access to the media because he's one of them. Mm-hmm. They create a theater. It's like a Shakespearean theater they're creating. Okay, here, we're going to create some villains over here. We're going to create some heroes. But all of these people are selected by them. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't matter which one of them wins, they win. Yes. So we have to be very accurate here. It's not like they are saying something anti-establishment, therefore they get to be on. They get to be on because they were chosen. Yes. Right? And the fraud takes place, that the fraud occurs because they are choosing who you get to see on the positive. They don't care whether you see them as a martyr. It's literally a little fictitious theatrical play that they're creating. And then you are choosing sides. I'm choosing this guy, that guy, this guy, Trudeau or Biden or whoever you're choosing. Any one of the players they choose, which they can control, they control the entire play. So if one of their players is not being seen by the masses as a martyr, like Elon Musk or Alex Jones, they're going to give him more publicity, you see? Or Trump, okay, let's do some indictments on him, okay? But nothing ever happens to these people, if you notice. Nothing, okay? So once you understand that anyone on mainstream media who gets mainstream media attention is part of the swarm, that's the first thing. And then the second thing is understand that you have to look at these people's actions. You almost have to close your ear to what they're saying and open your wisdom to what has this motherfucker done? How did he make his money? How did Vivek the Snake make his money? How did Trump make his money? Actually, he's been bankrupt most of the time. He's been bailed out by Rothschilds, by the Soroses, etc. As I keep saying, he's a businessman. He's a reality show businessman, okay? So this is a game that's being played. So the issue is, do you want to wake up, and who will you follow? You know, one of the most important things that I learned from a very, very good teacher, he said the most important thing in life is, it's a very tough one. Who do you decide to learn from? Who do you decide to follow? You have 3 advisors, and one of them is good. So you have a 33% chance of doing it well, you know? And that takes wisdom. And the sooner you make your mistakes and realize, and one of the big things is, do they walk the walk? Do they do what they say? You can start after a while having a set of checkoffs on who are you going to associate yourself with? Or who do you associate with that is basically going to take you down the path of what you call Satan or the devil or darkness? And it's frankly pretty easy.
But on that point, about the whole political system in general, I mean, pretty much all of Congress has been bought and paid for many times over for generations. You know, if I look back, I don't see any meaningful change for the better that has been done through the political process. So what do you say to people like that who now believe that even politics in general, at least at the federal level, is so corrupted by the forces that you're outlining here that there's no point in really even engaging?
Well, look, here's a bottom line, okay? We have to study the arc of human history. And the arc of history repeatedly shows that change has come when people raised their consciousness and took action based on that raised consciousness. I'll repeat that again. Change has always come, substantial change, when you as an individual took action individually and collectively with others from a raised consciousness. Okay? And it has always occurred in a very, very powerful, positive way for humanity. And so there's something very, very positive to learn here. We could keep saying they're so strong. There's only about 100,000 of them, guys. Go watch my swarm video, Shatter the Swarm. The more you're on these social media platforms talking about how powerful they are and great they are and they did this and that, you're actually hurting your limbic system in your brain. You're actually giving them incredible amount of power they actually don't have.
Yep.
The garbage doesn't get cleaned up if it wasn't for garbage men. Okay? The construction doesn't get done if they're not construction people. The networks that we're using right now do not get sustained if it's not for network engineers. God forbid if you get sick and you have to have a crisis issue and you go to hospitals, you need the ambulance drivers and all these people. All right? Yeah. So we have to start looking at who's actually driving the society. Have a storm in your neighborhood one day and the lights go out and you have no electricity. Trump ain't helping you. Congress ain't helping you. It will be some construction worker, a telephone wire worker who comes out in the middle of the night, in the bitter cold, who has to put that together. So we have to recognize who is actually our friends and who is our enemies. And when you connect that very simple dot, you realize there's more of us than them. These are very simple lessons. Mm-hmm. And then you have to ask, why is it a few of them have such power? And you will come to the conclusion they have that much power because we gave them that power. They have no power. They have absolutely no power. We have given them that power. The army is run by everyday people. The police force is run by everyday people. They're not elites. So once this becomes clear, you become a very powerful human being. It's a part of enlightenment that you realize that my actions, I reap what I sow. They want you to think like they're going to take care of everything for you. So again, I keep repeating this message. Now, in order to get there, you almost need a revolution to take place, but not it. The real revolution has to occur in your own mind. Mm-hmm. It has to occur in your own spirit. You have to come to this recognition of this concept. And that's when I did the Shatter the Swarm video. It's 15 minutes, but it's pure, pure depth of knowledge. If you watch that video, you will not waste 50, 40 years of your life.
Yeah, it's
You
fantastic.
really will. Yeah, and that took me 50 years to do that video. Okay? So you're getting a potent solution from one of us, me, who has gone through this journey, a very deeply spiritual journey, a emotional journey, a scientific journey, all those things. And you get an understanding in that 15 minutes that is going to catapult you so you don't have to go down a path that the last two generations did. So if you look at you brought up the truckers movement, right? I mean, we were, I remember the government of Canada had said that all the truckers from the United States going to Alaska, because they'd have to go through Canada, would have to get vaccine mandates.
Yeah.
And that's when I said that the U.S. truckers and the Canadian truckers should unite. And I remember I did a tweet a couple of weeks, days later. The truckers started organizing. And we have a lot of people in Canada, our movement, Truth, Freedom, Health, and we supported them. Now, had those truckers, and there are a lot of good people, had the leadership understood the physics and the science that we teach, it would have been over in Canada, okay? So what happens is movements come up. Some of the movements are hijacked, like the Free Palestine movement in the United States has been hijacked for 40 years by the liberal Zionists. All they say is, ceasefire now, ceasefire now. They've been doing this since 80, at least I've witnessed it. And they're the Zionists who run those movements. They never say end the occupation. Now, saying end the occupation is a very high state of consciousness of a slogan, which you come to only by recognizing that it is the occupation of the United States by Zionism, which has subjugated, right, the Palestinian people. Now, if you look at the trucker situation, the real issue was that truckers, again, well-meaning people, but if they had a deeper understanding, the day they started the trucker strike, they would have made sure they mobilized with all the other working class throughout Canada, all of them. So when they moved and they needed support, the police, the army, the carpenters, the electricians, all of them would have struck in solidarity with them, you see? So they couldn't be isolated. But you only do that if you have this important systems understanding of how to build a movement. Otherwise, you're going to be very narrowly focused, you see? Just like the Palestinian movement. Palestine will not be free until America is free.
Yeah, well, it's very tough, especially here in Canada. We basically, all of our news and media is paid for by the government, right? There's almost no free alternatives. And although the information is available, it's very hard for people to sort. I mean, it's not even hard for them to seek out. They just don't seek it out, a large majority of the population. And we have censorship laws and all of that. So it's very hard to get that momentum, whereas in the past, it was easier to do. And it really does seem like Canadians in large are still under a spell. That's in part why I call my podcast The Spell Breakers, because it's breaking these mental, psychological spells. So yeah, I'd love to get your take on that. Like, what options do we have when a country like ours is basically totally bought and paid for by the people who are, oppressing us? Very hard to wake up your general handyman who thinks, they're doing a good enough job. And then also, do you think, tying into the recent events of Twitter, do you think Twitter really is the free speech alternative? And do you think Twitter's really making a difference in this regard?
Well, look, my lawsuit in 2020, the world knows, Ayoduri versus Twitter is the first lawsuit that exposed the backdoor censorship infrastructure into Twitter. And all the quote unquote Twitter files people came 2 years later, were all about hijacking that and concealing the depth of that infrastructure, which is what our lawsuit revealed 2-3 years ago. So that's the first place. So once you understand that, you realize that Elon Musk was brought in to, again, deception, to make people feel that he was some fighter for free speech, but he's not, okay? Because he is a puppet of the government. Every penny that he has, whether it's for SpaceX, is dependent on the U.S. government. Whether for Tesla, it's dependent on $1.5 billion worth of carbon credits. He got close to $6 billion from the government to start SpaceX. I mean, come on. Who just starts putting up satellites in space overnight? Go try to raise $5.6 to $7 billion from the government. You have to suck a lot of Zionist cock to do that, okay? Or for that matter, government cock. Seriously, people have to get their head out of there. This guy is not just comes out of whatever, right? Had a company called X, which wasn't doing well. If it wasn't for his friend Peter Thiel, who helped him, and then Pierre Omidyar, this guy hasn't created anything, guys. So you have to, again, people, what's happening today is if someone repeats, a fool on the internet called Joe Rogan, if he repeats enough that this person is a genius, oh yeah, he's a genius. Why? I don't know. Why? I don't know. Why? Oh, Joe Rogan said it. Therefore, it must be true. This person kicks his dog. Have you seen the pictures? No. Why do you believe it? Because he told me so. So we live in a world right now, even 20 years ago, people would say, oh, why did you reach that conclusion that you should, I don't know, drink Pepsi versus Coke? Well, because, you had some idea what has this much sugar, that you had some rational thinking. We're not even there anymore. Some idiot says this is good, therefore you believe it. So the only way out of this is you have to teach people again how to think. And people learn how to think, will start recognizing one of the most important things is that any conclusion must be supported by actual facts, actual tasks and actions. Anything someone say they are going to do, well, what was their past history of doing that? If they say they're going to fight the establishment, well, have they fought the establishment before?
Yeah.
Right? Do they have a history of fighting the establishment? Have they put their life on the line fighting the establishment? I have my whole life. Have they? Have they actually put their careers, their lives, their money? No, they haven't. So why do you think they're going to fight the establishment? Because they said it? You see? So this is a fundamental issue. Judge someone by their actions, not what they say. It's that simple. So if you look at this from a spiritual context, what's happening is the level of money, the level of energy, the level of information, matter, and energy that's being used to manipulate people, to accept people by their words is quite enormous.
Yeah.
It's saying, listen to the words, not the deeds. And if you want to think about the devil, that is the devil.
Yeah.
So that's what's going on. Now it's literally a 0.001 degree shift to say, wait a minute, I'm going to see what this guy actually did. And people go to my Twitter channel, they'll go look at my videos from 10, 15, 20, they go, oh my God, this guy's always been fighting. He's always been anti-war. He's always been looking at integrated medicine since he was 5 years old, right? My history speaks for itself because I made a decision, a very clear goal, what I wanted to do in my life. These people their decision was to exploit people, manipulate people, and make money. Now they're saying things to follow that goal. You see? They actually believe the masses are asses. That's what they say. And they believe all of you who like them are star fuckers. That's the word they use. You see, they gave me a window into their world that they should never have given. They thought I would sell out. They thought, oh, Dr. Shiva's got all these degrees. He's won these awards, da-da-da-da-da. He'll be one of us. Well, it didn't work out that way. But, man, I gathered a lot of information that I share with you guys that you will never, ever get. And that information I'm sharing with you is to slap you upside the head and say, wake the fuck up. They hate you. They don't like you. If you're bowing down to them, you need to have your head checked. Don't be their cocksuckers.
Yeah.
And I have to be that harsh because people's brains have been programmed at such a deep level with, there's a thing called neural networks. If you do something over and over and over again, that part of the neural connection gets strengthened. Like when you learn to run a bike, the myelin sheath around those set of neurons get stronger. That's why you get repetitive and you get good at it, right? You don't even have to think about riding a bike. Now, if you've been cocksucking all your life, bowing down to them and thinking they're going to do something for you, that comes naturally. Oh, what do you mean, Dr. Shiva? You're saying the lesser of two evils. What do you mean you're handing out a flyer on to organize this? That's not going to work. You have to vote for one of these clowns. How can that ever work? You're not even in their polls. I'm not in their polls because they're afraid to put me in their polls. They're afraid to put you in their polls. Okay? So they are creating this world to manipulate you. And the issue is, do you want to have respect for yourself? Forget about them. Forget about me. Do you believe your life is worth living? Do you believe your existence is something special? Do you believe that you're a divine being, that it is beyond this material world? And I've experienced that, you see? So this is not sort of words for me. But if you've had that experience, you will realize that how denigrating it is to yourself, how you're disgracing yourself by acknowledging these people and not defying them and not fighting evil, that you become a slave every microsecond you do that, and you give your power to them. So that's, to me, the real spirituality.
I like it. Yeah, I have it can in the chats here. Once a prostitute, always a prostitute. I think that's exactly what you're saying here. So I'd be curious.
Yeah, and it's a very good observation someone just made. You see, they're all prostitutes.
Yeah.
So prostitutes, birds of a feather flock together. They're all slaves. They don't work. So they want you to be like them. They want you to be a slave. They want you to be a prostitute. They don't want you to work and do anything valuable.
Yeah.
Because they don't. Okay? They are sucking off. They have a hierarchy of sucking off people, and they want you to suck them off. Okay? So they want you to do what they do. And if you want to do that, then you will never have liberation. You will never see the world that you want for your children. In fact, the world that you will get is a world that they want, as this graph shows. By the way, everyone should go to Shiva for President and get this little flyer. You can go to free downloads, download it. And as you can see, this part of the flyer teaches you, there's two graphs here. What's going on with the industrialized nations right here, that their lifespan is starting to go in this direction. The United States has been going in this direction since 1980. This is from the Kennedys, the Bushes, the Clintons, the Obamas, the Trumps, the Bidens, Reagan, all of them. All of them have contributed to that. Every celebrity, every scientist in major academic institutions, they've all contributed to this. This part of the flyer teaches you who the swarm is. Take 15 minutes. This part of the solution gives you the solution, our candidacy for president, but more importantly, you. It says, get educated or be enslaved. And you go to Truth, Freedom, Health. It took me 50 years to consolidate this knowledge so you can become a true scholar of understanding this dynamics. If you don't sit down and learn the physics, I'm sorry, you're a dilettante. And then finally, every Thursdays, we do an event here every Thursdays online. You're all welcome to come. You can go to 11 a.m. and 8 p.m. and you can go to vashiva.com/orientation. For me, it's nearly a 20-hour day. I don't get paid for this. There's no money to be made here, but we get to unite people all over the world to discuss these fine points that we're talking about, and the fact that the real enemy is not the obvious establishment, but the not so obvious establishment. And because of our work, frankly, because of all the things we've been doing exposing them, they are now consolidating as never before to dupe you, deception. So
yeah, very well said, guys. ShivaForPresident.com. One person, just to wrap up the Twitter side, understanding conspiracy, said Twitter and Elon's free speech initiative was basically just about data mining real human interaction to build better AI models, presumably to enslave us further. Dr. Shiva, your response?
Yeah, it's exactly what I've been saying. So the other important piece of it, they're doing something even more. So if you look at anyone listening right now, and by the way, they're not only doing this to public figures like myself, they're doing it to accounts even 5 to 10,000. That's a broad mass of people. So think about the ability to manipulate people. So if you take someone like me, I have, my follower count should be probably at 10, 20 million. You'll see that how they've suffocated it on purpose. But if you look at those 388,000 followers, whatever that number is, 338, something like that. But if you take those followers and I make a big spreadsheet, first column is the names of the followers. Second column, maybe whether they're male or female, right? What part of the world they're from, what they like. And by the way, they can layer all this data in because they can purchase that data. And once you create this big, massive matrix out of it, you can do some very sophisticated math using what's called linear algebra. And you can then convert all of that data to create a single vector of a set of features which identify the kind of people that follow me. Oh, they're people who have blue hair, right? Making this up, right? Rosy cheeks, right? They have 2 dogs. They live in the mountains, right? Whatever it is, you come up with a signal. Mm-hmm. Now, once you have that, think about what they can do. They can sweep the 8 billion people. They can say, wow, these are the kinds of people who are going to be the future supporters of the movement for truth, freedom, health. These are the same people who are going to have integrity for themselves and want to stand up. And then to all of those people, you know what you do when you're, and people have shown me this, when they're on their Twitter feeds, it says, oh, click here for Vivek the Snake. Follow him, not Dr. Shiva, even though they're my followers. So they're literally understanding who I am, going to all my followers or potential followers and redirecting them to the fake versions of me or you. Okay? That's called predictive analytics. So that's what's going on. So Elon Musk is working for the government. He's beholden to them for every penny he has. He's not your friend. And you saw, I mean, over and over and over again, he has to go and suck off Netanyahu, bows down to Zionism. Okay?
Yeah, it was funny. Just on Twitter, I did a live stream pointing out in real time that Alex Jones is basically a shill, and this is part of a bigger narrative to, you know, the way I describe it is relief valves. They're scanning the world in real time on social media, and they're seeing where people get to the point where they're just about to break, just about to organize grassroots, you know, just about to snap, throw the phone down and start freaking out. And then, exactly as you said, in comes the savior of the day, right? And I believe that's Alex Jones, right? There's a build up. And so, okay, let's bring a cue Alex Jones to the stage. First, we'll do the Tucker interview. You know, it'll seem very grassroots, like free speech is winning. But, you know, funny enough, on Twitter, as soon as I pointed out the scripts in real time about Alex Jones, my engagements went down 95%. And it's been that way for the past week, right? So, you know, Mr. Free Speech Musk, you know, and Alex Jones, guys, it's not real, right? You're being played again and again and again by the script that Dr. Shiva has laid out very clearly. It's on the front page of his website. For anybody who hasn't seen it, please watch it, because Shiva, I watched that video 5 times. It's a great video. And I say that because, you know, there's a long version of it and then we cut it down to a small version, but let me just, I think it's good. I'm not going to play that video, but I would like to play. Hey, John, are you going to play it on our end? Okay. So before I go there, I want to just let everyone know there is a very, very nice video. First of all, everyone should go to truthfreedomhealth.com. I want to play 2 videos for you guys. Just take a quick break. One of the videos you all can find at truthfreedomhealth.com. And truthfreedomhealth.com is really the force. Truth Freedom Health is a movement. It's more than a movement. It's a community. It's technology. It's knowledge. It's education. It's all those things. So I encourage all of you guys to go over to, let me go over there to truthfreedomhealth.com. I think I'm on your Twitter, right? I'm sorry, I'm on your, yeah. So let me go, I have to go over to your Skype and be able to share that with people. And then when I say so, John is also going to, I think, share it on his end. So let me see. Okay. Let me find it here. Let's see, there's so many windows here. Okay, here we go. So I'm on your Skype, right? You can see me here? Yeah, here we are. Okay. Yep. So I'm going to share it for you first.
So again, people go to truthfreedomhealth.com, and this is really separate from Shiva for President. This is really the educational technology, the community technology, the infrastructure for building a movement. The slogan is get educated and be enslaved. But you'll see these two videos right off top. And by the way, I ask all of you guys to explore this site. You'll see our victories because we think it's important to win. But we really teach people there's lots of information, but look at a lot of information is not making us healthier or better. It's actually creating more of a more obese world, more world where people are depressed and anxious. And this is done because people are using ignorance. So they give you pieces of information. And then you get deluded or confused and you become complacent, you give up, or you become desperate, or you go into this left or right. And the only way, and by the way, these are the people who are the machineries of that ignorance. It's not the obvious people, it's these people. And the goal is to break out of that, but you need wisdom, which is knowledge. And this knowledge is different than information. It's the ability to interconnect things. And there's a science to doing that. You can spend 100,000 years trying to figure it out, but guess what? It's already done for you. And the elites use this knowledge. That's how they're able to manipulate you. So let me play that video for you right here. John, I'm playing the anthem video, okay? So let me play that for people here. John's going to be playing it.
A homogenized world where we will become slaves, because there is a condition among the elites that really thinks they're better than you, deep down inside them, that you don't deserve the freedoms you have. They don't. This reality is what people need to wake up to, and we need to all unite working people. There's only one movement that can do that. And that is the movement that we started creating here in Massachusetts, the movement for truth, freedom, and health. Look, I've been a student of politics since I was a 4-year-old kid, studying revolutionary movements, left wing, right wing. There's a physics, there's a nuclear science to destroying the establishment. To build a bridge, you need to understand Newton's equation. You need to understand the laws of gravity. You need to understand Poisson's ratio. There is a way to build a revolution. And that's why I put this together. My goal is to train an army of truth, freedom, and health leaders. We don't need followers like social media. We need leaders, but they need training because the educational system does not teach them history, nothing. So in 3 hours, that's what I've started doing. That's the solution. We got to train people first with understanding what a system is, the dynamics of all systems that affect nature.
You can still hear,
Second
right?
is understanding the interconnection.
Yeah, loud and clear.
Freedom is the ability to freely, communicate freely, talk freely. Without freedom, you cannot convert ideas, hypothesis into truth, which is science. And without freedom, you can't really get to truth. And without truth, you make up fake problems and fake solutions, which means you destroy our health. And without health, which is the infrastructure of us and our body, you can't fight for freedom. Truth, freedom, health. Third concept is it has to be bottoms up. Working people, people who work uniting. And what the right wing has done is whenever you say working people unite, that must be communist. Meanwhile, they'll let the Democrats run unions, which suppress workers, completely corrupt. But when you look at the arc of American history, it's been when working people came up. We need to go local. Every solution I'm coming up with as a part of this movement, we're giving the science, which is the truth, and then we tell people what they can do on the ground. Like with election fraud, you don't need to wait for some lawyer. Our goal is to train people to go local, to go local, to go local, fight locally. Forget lawyers, forget politicians, forget celebrities. You've got to learn politics, and there is a science to it. They lock us down, we should be ready to shut them down. And the fourth part of this principle is a not so obvious establishment. So when you look at a system, there's always something that disturbs you from getting to your goal. Well, the biggest disturbance is the not so obvious establishment, which are those people who claim they're for you, on the left and the right. The Al Sharptons who tell black people I'm for you, the Tucker Carlsons. Do you think any true anti-establishment person will ever be on Fox or CNN? I don't think so. They both mislead working people back into the establishment. Without this solid understanding of political physics and theory, you're screwed. You're going to follow on the left wing, Bernie Sanders. Oh, he said something. Or Robert Kennedy. Scumbags. Or you're going to follow some right-wing talk show host. They're not going to lead us to liberation. It's us. We're building a bottoms-up movement. And that political physics, it's a nuclear science of change. Bottoms up. We have to organize to understand that there is people who talk a good game and then look at what they actually do, left and right. I'm sorry, Sean Hannity may say some good things, but I don't see the urgency in his voice to get something done. And it can only come when you weaponize yourself with the right knowledge. You need to be able to identify a rat. You know, Christ didn't go after the Romans, right? It was the Pharisees and the Sadducees who screwed him up. his own quote unquote people. And that's where we're at. So these 4 concepts I've built into a curriculum where people can go to truthfreedomhealth.com, and it's an educational program. We need to train people in political theory. You need to have physics. And I've created that curriculum. People need to get educated. We need to get educated fast. And within a half an hour, I can teach people. 2 years of MIT control systems, I teach people those concepts. Then I apply it, anyone can understand it. And then you say, oh, I got to build a bottoms-up movement. They have to get politically astute, and then they have to go locally and act, not sit there on social media. They have to act locally, defy locally, do civil obedience locally, but with knowledge on how to build a movement. And the Senate campaign's expanded to the movement for truth, freedom, and health, and they can find it on truthfreedomhealth.com, so people can sign in, they can get access to a bunch of videos. If they want to take a course and become a truth, freedom, health leader, I offer a full scholarship there, but we want people to make a commitment that they'll study, that they'll get certified, that they'll go do activities on the ground. So go to truthfreedomhealth.com.
Nice. Well, we still got you there, Dr. Shiva?
Yeah, good. I hope that gives you guys an idea. So we have created an entire institution of sorts with a clear vision. You know, we have about 500,000 people all over the world right now at varying levels of commitment and knowledge. It's a community. We do a lot of offline activities, online activities. It's educational. But without this knowledge, you're basically going to sort of is groping in the dark and thinking, oh, let me try this, let me try that. That's why it was unfortunate our movement wasn't in Canada probably a year before the truckers movement, you know, because we could have really taken it into a much deeper level to liberate more people. But it's okay, you know, we're here. A movement like ours should have existed about 50 to 100 years ago, because we have to move people away from the thinking that someone from above, the swarm, as I call it, is going to come save you. They're not. Yeah. They're going to keep making you think they're going to save you, and that is their job.
Yeah. Where do you think we are collectively in that process of cluing in to the fact that every single person we see on the screen is part of that system? Do you think there is a true great awakening as people are discussing? Where do you think we're at, Dr. Shiva?
Well, look, those in power, as never before, have immense ability. When you study a control system, which is what I teach in our movement, number one thing is you learn that every intelligent system in the universe has a goal. It decides it's going to make actions to achieve that goal with particular things it's going to do, actions, inputs you would call into the system. That transforms the forces of movement, you know, conversion and infrastructure, right? They make changes to all those things.
Yeah.
And that results in a new output for them, and they assess using their sensors if that output meets their goal. If it doesn't, they keep tweaking it and tweaking it and tweaking it. So they understand control systems. And if you don't understand control systems, you will just be used by them. Mm-hmm. They understand the nature of control systems, and they use those systems. So you have to understand those systems dynamics. There's about 9 principles, and we teach that in a couple of hours. Anyone can learn it. You don't have to be a nerd, anyone. But without this understanding, you're sort of just a little fish in the pond, right? You don't understand you're living in an aquarium. You will understand what that aquarium looks like, okay? So that's the first thing. And once you understand that, you'll start to recognize the immense amount of information that's being gathered in microseconds. That's the sensor piece. And they are looking at, wow, which way are the masses moving? Wow, they're really getting excited by what Dr. Shiva is saying. And they're really starting to see that Rogan's full of shit. They're starting to see that Trump is full of shit. My God, you know, they're breaking away from us. So we got to jack it up. Let's bring Alex Jones back on. They still follow him. They think he's a radical. Let's bring, Owen Schroyer on, whatever, right? Let's bring Tulsi Gabbard on. Glenn Greenwald, oh my God, he helped Snowden. Forget about the fact he's one in cahoots with all these people. He concealed the most important lawsuit of our time. Forget all that, okay? So they know what's happening. They know people are going to break from them, if you want to call that the awakening. They know that's happening. And the awakening's happening because of the material realities of most people's lives. The average American's got $400 in their bank account. They don't, and meanwhile, Trump is asking them for their money and they're writing out checks to him. It's quite incredible.
It is.
So they know this phenomenon is happening. And they know someone like me and our movement will emerge as leaders of them from below, and we'll be educating them to be leaders, not relying on me. And this is very dangerous for them. So they're going to crank up their consolidation of the rhetoric of being anti-establishment. The rhetoric, only so people do not build these independent movements. That's sort of the juncture we're at. Because remember, if you keep it simple, stupid, if you follow that principle, they do not want you to get off your butt and build a true bottoms-up movement for truth, freedom, health. They want you to get all excited watching a stupid debate on TV, one candidate hitting another candidate. Oh my God, did you see? He's our guy. He's our man. We have our Messiah finally. Oh, well, wait. This guy, took a failed drug, I'm sorry, and he resuscitated it with his mother helping him clean up the data, and then he made $50 million off. I'm talking about Vivek the Snake, right? Oh, this other guy, he said he's going to lock her up, but he didn't lock up anyone. But he's going to do it. He's playing fifth dimensional chess. You got to be working with him, okay? You don't understand all the pressures he's under, right? You got to let him do his thing. Let's give him another shot. Biden's horrible, which he is, right? But let's give the lesser of two evils. You say that's what they want you to keep doing. And as long as they got you thinking like this, you're fucked.
Yeah.
As long as they got you thinking, wow, Dr. Shiva, wow, that movement, they can never do. Well, you're fucked. Because they want you to live in a limited set of possibilities, while they enjoy enormous possibilities for themselves while they depopulate you.
Yeah. Well, there's the movie Layer Cake, which I really like, and I liken it to exactly what you're saying, right? So there's, let's say, the dominant mainstream narrative, which they're losing, let's be real, right? Then the next is what you call the, not so obvious establishment. And I am starting to see a lot of them start to come under scrutiny in mass, right? If you even just look at Joe Rogan's podcast, what it was 4 years ago versus today, it's just a husk. And I see people really waking up to that, and Alex Jones and Tucker Carlson. But where do you think people are along in that process? Because you're kind of like fourth, fifth layer deep.
We have to recognize a reason that's happening is because over the last 3 years, we've been hitting them really hard.
Yeah.
It's been a lot of hard work. If our movement wasn't here, frankly, they would not be unleashing them. They would still continue their standard deception. So we have to recognize that it is the consciousness of our movement, which comes from the understanding of what we call a disturbance, from the very deep understanding of system science, which reveals they do not want a self-organizing system. We teach this. And you don't need to have even 1 million people getting this. You only need about 10,000 people, because it's such a deep, deep understanding. A lot of people come to our movement, for 2-3 years, they were bamboozled. But Rogan's been Rogan from the beginning. He's never told the truth. 2013 to 2014, when I was doing all the fundamental research on genetically engineered foods, one of his friends, Eddie Bravo, said, Shiva, you should have Shiva on. He didn't put me on. He put the guy who was pro-Monsanto guy on. Same when the whole question of vaccines came up. You're looking at a guy who's got all the degrees at MIT, is considered one of the leading immune systems people. Why does he not put me on? And then he waits 3 years when it's convenient to act like though he's against the vaccines after everyone's been vaccinated.
Yeah.
You see? It's like Fire Marshal Bob after the buildings burned down. Oh, I'm here to save you. So you have to understand these guys are owned, paid for, and they're entertainers.
Yeah. Yeah, and
all right.
Yeah, just want to check in. Are you? I know we're a little over time. We got started late, so.
How about 10 more minutes? Is that
yeah,
good?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Okay,
Thanks. I appreciate you going over. When I look at the political cultural landscape, it seems like they're almost letting all the stops go. You know, Christians, I think, rightly in some respect, say that it's almost like a flood of demons going into the world now, right? In terms of all of the things they've been doing in the last 3 years, I call it the everything crisis, right? Everything from the trans and kids to the mandates to draconian laws to censorship. Do you see that as them? Like, it feels desperate to me, that they kind of know that they're at the end of their rope and a bit of a checkmate. But what are your thoughts on that?
Well, this is what's going on globally. You have to follow the money. The United States dollar has been used as what's called a reserve currency throughout the world. Reserve currency means everyone else has to trade in the US dollar. So if you have rupees in India, you have to have dollars to do international trade. If you're rubles, you have to go to dollars, okay? And so on. Now, this has been changing recently. But you have to understand the people that it's changing to are also part of the establishment. The BRICS were created by JP Morgan, okay? So the elites essentially move their money down. It's like they go into a village, they rape it. They say, let me go to the next village and rape it, okay? They've sort of done the massive pillaging of the United States, okay? But it's not over. So the United States dollar used to be backed by gold or used to be backed by petroleum. Now it's backed by F-15 fighters and nuclear bombs.
Yep.
And in order to maintain the value of the dollar, to let it do and to print as much money, be the reserve currency, you need to be militarily strong. And the United States maintains that strength by having places like Israel or Palestine being occupied by Zionism. So they could control a region which is critical for all sorts of things, center of the Middle East, right? Suez Canal. I mean, you can look at where it is, right? Red Sea, Mediterranean, et cetera. So this is why they need to perpetuate war in order to maintain the reserve. So foreign policy is directly related to domestic monetary policy, or the monetary policy which is done domestically. So once you get that, you recognize that everything that's done is to make sure that the dollar has that preeminence. So that's where this is all coming from. And if the dollar fails to have that preeminence, the elites will move their money to Brazil, Russia, India, China, wherever, right? It's not like they're patriotic towards any country. It's what serves their interests at a particular point in time. And this is what I think people need to understand. If you get this, you'll start realizing that, hey, we working people, whatever place we're in, we should unite for our interests.
Yeah.
Because they're just going to move capital around as they need to maximize a return.
But some of their actions, it seems beyond just political control and money. Like, some of it really does come across as evil for the sake of evil. Am I misreading, or?
Well, no, which came first? Look, the nature of evil is to maximize power, profit, and control. And power, profit, and control feeds evil, right? It's all occurring together, right? It's not one is occurring, the other is, they're both occurring together, and they both fuel each other. You have to be somewhat of an evil individual who thinks day in and day out about how to move money to make money all day. And if you're not concerned about others, that's evil, if you want to define that as evil. But it's all driven by maximizing power, profit, and control. In order to maximize power, profit, and control, you need people like that, okay? Yeah. So they're both intimately connected, the nature of the beast and the thing that the beast creates. So I think they're intimately connected. And which one came first? I don't think there's not which, they both existed together. You know, it's like an electron and a proton. It exists together.
Okay. Yeah, I guess my final question for you would be around optimism and predictions for the next few years. I mean, obviously, Shiva for president, but if that doesn't happen, you know, I see them really trying to build Trump in this narrative hero arc where he's oppressed for, you know, and all of a sudden he comes in to save the day. I am seeing a lot of resistance to that. What are your predictions, Dr. Shiva, for the next few years?
Well,
How do you see things playing out?
I believe history is unfolding onto itself, and our actions individually and collectively determine that history. And you know, a sufficiently small number of people who raise their consciousness can have an enormous influence. Think about very, very conscious individuals throughout history. Imagine the world having 50 Malcolm X's or 1,000 Malcolm X's or 10,000 Malcolm X's of raising their consciousness to think beyond, you know, left and right, you know, beyond race and religion, to actually shatter the swarm. It's quite powerful, and knowing how to do that. And so that's our movement. You will see by the end of 2024 is going to become beyond what you're seeing today. It's going to become an enormous force globally. That's one thing, the trajectory that it's on. The second thing I think you're going to see is, as that occurs, more and more, in fact, there will be a clash, and will be the clash between this not so obvious establishment who will try to manipulate people and the forces of truth, freedom, health. That's what you're going to see. Meaning they will consolidate the Vivek, the Snakes, Tucker Carlson's, the Trumps, the Alex Jones. You're going to see a consolidation, the Elon Musks, among these devils. Tulsi Gabbard, you're already seeing it. Tucker Carlson, all these guys are going to start consolidating because they are who the elites are going to need to manipulate the rest of us, right? As more and more people grow. Look, as one side gets stronger, the other side tries to get even stronger. Yep. So I think we're headed for some very, very interesting, at minimum, polemical clashes, which is where we're going to start exposing these people for who they really are, which is good. So I see a very, very bright future, actually. I mean, look, for me, the elites, whatever they do, we can't do much. They may drop a couple of nuclear bombs. They may do this, that. All right, let them do what they want. But we still have to build our own movement. We can't check out and say, well, someone's going to do it. I mean, that's sort of worst case what I just said. But the bottom line is I see enormous opportunity because we exist for creating something that will fundamentally transform people. If our movement didn't exist, I wouldn't say that. I would say it's pretty dismal.
Well, that's great. I want to be respectful of your time, Dr. Shiva. I'm sure presidential campaigns aren't easy to do and take up a ton of your time. So truthfreedomhealth.com, guys, Shiva for president.
Yeah, so people should go to Truth Freedom Health and there's a couple of action steps I'd like to propose. One is go to Truth Freedom Health. That's where you can come to our orientations. We do 11 a.m. and 8 p.m. John will flash it up on the screen. You can go to vashiva.com/orientation or Shiva4president.com/town hall. So that's one thing. Go become a warrior scholar. Come to our open house. You'll meet people from Canada. You'll meet people from Africa. And we do it 2 sessions, 11 a.m. and 8 p.m. Okay? Now, the other thing you can do is you can go, if you're in the United States, you can go get one of these bumper stickers. It says Shiva for President. They're $5. Notice I haven't even asked for 1 penny at all. If Booby fucking Kennedy was there, who's got $1 billion trust fund, he'll say, give me money, I can't get on the ballot. I need $1 to $10. In the United States, getting on the ballot, you have to collect signatures, which means you have your own volunteers. He has no volunteers. So he's taking people's money, you know, going and doing backroom deals with the courts to get extensions, and then giving money to professionals to go collect signatures, like hired guns. They don't even know who the hell he is. So what people can do is they can go get one of these bumper stickers, put it on the rear window of your car. 100,000 people will see it. If you're overseas, you can go get a similar bumper sticker. It's called Shatter the Swarm. Okay? The other thing you can do is you can go to Shiva for President or vashiva.com, but Shiva for President has a Shiva for President flyer. Free download. Download it, print it on your black and white printer, hand this out to friends and family. In the event everyone works hard, you want to give money. When you give money, I give you books, I give you courses, I give you knowledge to expand your. I find it very difficult to take money from hardworking people and not giving anything back. It never made sense to me. I don't understand how these politicians do it. And to me, it's evil. Why is Trump asking, poor people for money when he's got, whatever, all of his properties? Why does he need all this money? Why doesn't he sell one of his own buildings and fund his campaign? Right?
I know.
Why is he asking? And why are people gave him about $500 million using the election integrity work that I did. So
I know.
I understand that these people are con men.
I know. I always think about that, Dr. Shiva. Like Tucker Carlson, is heralded as the king of talking about, the border issues. Imagine if he just diverted 5% of his net wealth to actually solving that problem through grassroots, or Trump, or all of these people. And that's why I really want to thank you, is that you are very much a grassroots organizer. You're educating people, you're raising the consciousness, and that's really what we need to do. And to point out these shills, because guys, they have billions of dollars and they are not your friends, but Dr. Shiva is. So Shiva, thanks so much for coming on. Any final thoughts?
Excuse me, and you're a friend, right? We're all friends of each other. We have to look. We have to. A lot of talking. We all have to appreciate what we do. Okay, have respect for ourselves. Have dignity for what you do, and begin there. And you have to, as you said, you have to curse at these people. They're wicked people. You cannot keep your mouth shut. You have to curse at them with the most vituperative language that you have, with the most vitriol you can dish, because what you're doing when you do that, you're actually breaking very deep-rooted programming for yourself and others. When people say, why are you calling Booby fucking Kennedy Booby fucking Kennedy? Because that's what you should call him. Because he wants you to call him Bobby, RFK Jr. So all just fucking branding. The motherfucker hasn't done anything.
The Falcon's pretty cool, though.
Yeah, he's a fucking ear, It's so, yeah, it's cool. That's what they want you to do. You know what's cool? Let him go on the ground and actually collect signatures. He won't do that because he needs to pay off other people. You know what's cool? If he actually honored his wife and he didn't bang 30 women and kept diaries of them. What would have been cool is if he didn't, he says he's for medical freedom and he vaccinated all of his kids and then blames and then everyone had to have a vaccine card or had vaccinated to come to his home. Yep. These people are all bullshitters. They spend all their time on these little fucking childish gigs. When I started attacking him, look at this fool with his falcons. The next day goes, hangs out with some turkeys on a farm. That's how he follows everything I say. He has spies come to our movement. He's got no brain. He's got to take testosterone replacement therapy. And I bet you his penis is invaginated, okay, from that process. Seriously, these people are not human beings.
Yeah.
Everything about them is fake.
Yeah, well, he was a junkie, and exactly as you said, serial womanizer, cheated on his wife.
Imagine you being a junkie. Imagine you spitting in police's face. You'd be in jail. How come he's out? Where's his record of, at least 10 years in prison? They let him, they remake him, say, oh, we're going to make you now, we're going to make you as though you're fighting for clean water. Well, meanwhile, you endorse Hillary Clinton, who promotes glyphosate and GMOs. The contradictions are so galore, but they actually think you're so, and I want to begin or end where we started. They really think you're dumb. They think you will absolve them because they have a name called Kennedy or Trump, and you see them banging this woman or banging that woman or hanging out with Epstein. You must think they're powerful. They are preying on you.
Yeah.
So start praying for yourself, P-R-A-Y, while they P-R-E-Y on you.
Amen. Yeah. Stop following
all right
the false losers that they prop up for us every day. Get harsh, get mad. Systems thinking.
Yeah.
Shiva for president. Dr. Shiva, love having you on. You're very, very inspirational.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks so much for your time.
Yes. All right. Thank you, everyone. Be the light. I think John's going to play actually, we can play that. I'll play for you, John. You'll take us out there, right? I'm going to play the president video here for you. So everyone, if you want to go see a video that we have, you can see it on shivaforpresident.com. And if you go to, I think I have to share it here. It's a good